Welcome everyone to the debut episode of Spandex and Suplexes, the interview series. Thankfully, the review series has gone very well, and because it's so popular, we decided to expand the brand and add a little interview series. In our debut episode, I'd like to introduce, here we go. I'd like to introduce, he is a 17-year in-ring veteran. He has held gold in such promotions as Ronin Pro Wrestling, Ring Warriors, and Paragon Pro Wrestling. He most recently appeared on AEW Dark. Please welcome Alex Chamberlain.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here. Appreciate the time.
Oh, yes. So the first question I have for you is what I ask anyone I meet who is a professional wrestler. What was it that inspired you to become a professional wrestler?
Well, for me, I was always a wrestling fan for as long as I could remember. My mom and dad were huge wrestling fans. My dad loved Scott Hall. My mom loved Ivan Putski. I always tell that because it's, funny when, both your parents like wrestling. It's usually one or the other or not at all. So I grew up with it in the house always. Dad would sneak me out, let me watch Monday Night Raw. He loved doing that when my mom was in bed. And going to the pay-per-views was a big deal. What made me want to become a pro wrestler is easy. It was the Royal Rumble 2000, Madison Square Garden. And that whole pay-per-view was fire. That was Taz's debut. Yeah. I can name the entire card. The entire card was just so awesome. I loved Acolytes versus the New Age Outlaws, Hardy Boys versus Dudley Boys in the tables match, Angle versus Taz.
That was great.
The triple threat between China, Jericho, Hardcore Holly. That's where I think Rock won the Royal Rumble. And then the match that made me fall in love with it was the main event, which was Triple H versus Cactus Jack.
Yes.
That whole build was so cool. Mick Foley bringing back Cactus Jack after not seeing him on TV for about a year or two, and I was like, he had to go to that crazy level in order to be able to beat Triple H, who was at the top of his game, literally and figuratively at the time. That match was awesome. It was just two gladiators battling it out. I remember Triple H got that piece of pallet board stabbed in his calf, like black blood was oozing out of his leg into his boot. They were using barbed wire on each other, and they were just, and made Triple H's career. That really kind of put him over as like a real threat. Like if he could beat Cactus Jack in his territory, then he could take on anyone. And that was the match where I remember watching afterwards. Is like, that's what I want to do. Like that looks like so much fun.
Yeah, that was Mick Foley's first retirement match.
Yes,
he would come back to WrestleMania that year.
Yep. He did that Hell in a Cell with Triple H too, where he went through the cage through the ring, and that was awesome.
Oh cool. Yeah, the McMahon in every corner, WrestleMania 2000.
Fatal 4-Way. Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned a couple wrestling names. Who among your peers and legends? Who are your biggest wrestling influences?
Influences for style for me, influence-wise, Bret Hart, huge, in terms of that smoothness and attention to detail. Ron Simmons for just raw power. I love Ron Simmons. I use his spine buster as like my own little, nod to him, and I really liked what he did. He's just such a badass. I was just so legit. Like, you look like a mean dude. Like, you could just kill you. I just like that presence about him. Jericho, I was Jericho was so cool when I was he was such a cool, like when I was a kid, and he was really hitting his stride in WCW. He was so cool, so funny, had a crazy character, was over the top. I loved him. So I get like a lot of character work from him. I really liked always what Triple H did, because Triple H is like, he's one of those guys. Like, I know a lot of people say it's easy to nominate him since he's the boss or whatever, but he's really underappreciated in terms of like how good of a worker he is in terms of making everyone look good. And he's lost so much more than he's won in his career, and people don't really notice that. But he really spent a career trying to help make guys, and he had a great run, what he did. And he told some really great stories, and he's such a well-rounded wrestler, because he could work with any style, make any style look good. And he was super versatile. So he was another guy I always looked up to. And Gangrel too. I always like Gangrel, personal mentor of mine, personal friend. But just that realism and that grittiness and that brawl fighting style was something I really tried to pull from him too.
Awesome. Well, speaking of Gangrel, you both competed in a promotion called Paragon Pro Wrestling, which I
Yep.
mentioned earlier. That was actually how I first watched you in your
Yep.
career. I was just watching TV one day, and I came across this. I can't remember what channel it was, some small channel, and they were something called Paragon Pro Wrestling. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I looked in, I was like, "Oh, wow, this production is great."
Yep.
The You guys were in the Sam's Town Hotel and Gambling Hall in Las Vegas, Nevada. You guys were there before Impact and Ring of Honor both did shows there.
Yes. Before that, yeah.
And so, it looks like the promotion only lasted a couple years, and it kind of disappeared off that channel. Can you tell us how did Paragon Pro Wrestling come to be, and what ultimately led to its end?
Well, it came to be when the promoter, his name was Jeff. He wanted to start. He's a known promoter. Been running shows in the West Coast for a long time, at least like 10, 15 years, if probably more. I know he's part of wrestling in the early days there. I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, he was helping, fund shows and whatnot. He had the money to do so. So he wanted to break off and start his own thing in Vegas. And I met him at a show in New England. He saw me work, and he really liked what I had. So he brought me into the first shows. And so we started out in Vegas. I remember the first show we did was actually pretty awful in terms of production, and I actually talked him into hiring my friend Jared, who owned a really solid production company in Tampa. And he was a former wrestler, and he's been producing wrestling shows or helping since he started too. It was just his passion on the side was on top of him taking bookings as a wrestler. He would also make videos and produce and run segments too. And he was doing bit parts for like Ring of Honor here and there. So I brought him on, and that was like a night and day difference. Like our production levels went from being like kind of halfway to like fantastic. It was up there with Impact and Ring of Honor for sure in terms of quality, and surpasses them, I think, in some regards. But no, the cast and crew was great. I mean, we had some of the best guys. We had the grappler Len Denton, Georgia championship, Maine State, a guy who's been all over the country, all over the world, very well respected among wrestlers. We had Matt Stryker, Gangrel, Sin Bodie, Joey Jackson, like all these guys who've just done so much in wrestling and could teach us young guys a lot. And that was our backstage crew. Like that was our agents, that was our floor director, those were our peers and mentors, like, running everything for us. And then the actual talent was like Alexander Hammerstone, Wes Briscoe,
Whirlwind Gentleman,
Gallo, Whirlwind Gentleman, Anthony Green. I mean, like Jesse Sorensen. I mean, there was literally so much talent on that show. It was not even funny.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, the issue really what came down to it was the promoter didn't want to promote the show. He thought that if you just book a wrestling show, they'll just turn up and commercials will just magically appear on your show, and you don't need to market. But wrestling's a hard beast. It's fickle. You got to get exposure. He didn't understand social media, which is a big thing I was trying to harp on him on, was the power of social media, trying to get it out there, because when you're only on, like, granted, we were nationally syndicated and we were pulling like almost 100,000 viewers every week. We were actually at one point competing with Ring of Honor in terms of total viewers, and they had a far bigger syndication than we did with Sinclair. But people liked our product. I mean, I remember tuning in. We had guys like One Man Gang were like hitting us up, being like, "Man, I watch your show. Love your show. You guys are really good." We had all these like guys from like WWF days, like you're telling us how good of a show we were putting out there. But no one was really knowing about it. It wasn't until after the fact when everyone watches the videos on YouTube and they're like, "Wow, this is a really good show." Or they caught us on Fight TV. They still have the archive there on Fight TV, where that's how we're kind of getting found out after the fact. But just the promoter didn't really do his job in promoting. He was still kind of in that smaller mindset of like territoriality of like getting the local law office to like, buy a banner. And I'm like, that's not really how you promote a national wrestling show. You need like real sponsors. You need like restaurants and like national businesses, and you got to have an active engagement in Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And just didn't do that. Didn't really understand the landscape changed. He's from a different generation. So it is what it was, but it gave me an opportunity to hone my craft on television, which is so much different than independent wrestling on regular indie shows. Those are house shows. Those are far different way you treat the audience and treat the camera, so I really learned a lot from working with like Matt Stryker and D'Lo Brown and those guys on teaching me how to be a TV wrestler. Far different.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the show. Like I said, I found it by complete accident, and
Mhm.
it was a great
Most people
show.
do.
Yeah,
Most people did.
and yeah, I love that Gangrel was there, and
Yeah, he was awesome.
he was still looking great in the ring.
Oh, he moves better at 51 than most 25-year-olds still to this day. He wrestles every day at the school. I'll be going to see him later on today, and he still moves better than most guys half his age. The guy is complete freak of nature in terms of that. Tough as they come.
Yeah, one of my favorite feuds in the whole promotion was your and Hammerstone's feud with the Whirlwind Gentlemen over the tag
Yep,
team titles.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That was actually good.
yeah, I remember seeing the Whirlwind Gentlemen. It's like, wow, these guys' gimmick is great.
Yep. Yeah, they were good too because I mean it was a cool dynamic of two big guys versus two small guys. A lot of
Hmm.
people have a hard time with that, but we love the challenge of that. All four of us love the challenge of trying to make all four of us look believable and like anybody could win at any given time. So that was a lot of fun working with them. Remy and Jack are good dudes.
Yeah, and then later on, you became the champ. You became top guy,
I
and
did.
you formed a little stable with I think it's Hammerstone, Caleb Conley. Trying to remember who else was part.
Donovan
Donovan.
and Lisa Marie, Victoria from WWE.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I
Yep.
remember, yeah, that was great.
Yep.
Um,
My
the viewers out
handmaiden.
there, the viewers out there may know Hammerstone from his current run in Major League Wrestling, where he's the
Oh yeah.
national openweight champion. Do you still communicate with Hammerstone?
Oh yeah, I talk to him at least once a week. Still,
Awesome.
good friend. I pick his brain for bodybuilding stuff. I mean, he's always been physically just a set specimen. So I still talk. We still bang out ideas against each other. We just keep in touch and just we both had a pretty cool impact on each other's career at a time when we're both getting on TV for the first time. And they paired us together so we could basically build something together and work off each other. And that was we both found our voice and our style of wrestling from there. That was one thing the Paragon really gave us both was that opportunity to grow.
Yeah, you guys were a great team. I'd love to see you guys team up again someday.
Oh, I hope so too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, most recently you made a appearance at AEW Dark.
Mm-hmm.
That was really awesome.
That
And
was
you
very cool.
wrestled Sean Spears,
Yep.
great talent there.
Oh yeah,
So
hell of a wrestler.
how did that come to be? How did you end up getting on AEW?
Well, I've done a few tapings for them, doing like support work, like extra work in Miami and some other places. And so I've always I was on their list of guys to look at. I was probably going to be used, I think, right before Corona started, before the lockdown and everything. I was being ready to be brought in for to get looked at, and then the whole world shut down. So that really kind of just delayed the process. But then they got a hold of me about 2 weeks or so before the Dark, and they were like, "Hey man, like you ready? Like you want to do a match?" And I was absolutely sign me up, good to go. So that was that. And, I've been very fortunate. I have a lot of friends there in the office and as staff. So, a lot of guys were very the place is awesome. I can't say enough good things about AEW. The way they run it is great. Tony Khan's got something really special there, for sure. And it was a lot of fun. It was such a cool opportunity. Super thankful. Hopefully get to do it again and get myself a nice long-term contract there.
Yeah, I'd love if they signed you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You mentioned Chris Jericho as one of your top influences. Did you get to meet him while you were there?
Oh yeah, I've met him a few times. Awesome guy. So
Yeah,
very cool. It's cool to see like how he works in the back because he's super supportive of the young guys. You always see him walking up to the younger guys who are just breaking their feet in there, and he's always willing to help give advice to the guys. You could tell he really he likes to. I think he kind of likes to kind of see those 22, 23, 24-year-old kids. Like I think he remembers being that age and just getting guidance from guys he worked with. Like Guerrero and Benoit and Malenko and you just being able to give back. So you could tell he really takes a lot of joy in doing that. And he's a good dude.
Yeah. We met. We got connected through the editor here at Florida Geek Scene, and the way he met you, I believe you came into his shop or something like that, and so we found out the way you are, like me, a big comic book nerd.
Oh, yeah.
Like I see that Captain America shield's behind you.
I got two of them. I got this one from Alan Bellman, who just recently passed, and that one was from FSCW. That was a wrestling promotion I help with. That travels actually Comic-Cons. It's GalaxyCon. They do Richmond, Louisville, used to do Miami before they sold to Reed Pop. We do a whole bunch of cities, 5 or 6 cities all over the country. We do superhero / more like pop culture themed wrestling show.
Oh yeah.
Every night, draws awesome audiences. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, I'm a huge, I love anything in the, in nerd culture. I'm a massive Star Trek fan. I love everything. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
comic books, Star Trek, sci-fi, anything, high fantasy, love high fantasy.
Oh
Then
yeah, me too.
I'm gonna read it, watch it, play it. Doesn't matter. So
Yeah, you mentioned that promotion where you do comic book themed wrestling shows. I've seen like a few photos of those. You actually wrestle with Skeletor.
yes, that was
Are you a big Masters of the Universe fan?
I am. I mean, I was a little late to the party when I was born into it. I mean, I knew obviously of He-Man, Skeletor. Watched the movie when I was a kid with Dolph Lundgren, and Frank Langella. But it was funny because like I was actually doing Captain America for the longest time, and we needed a big villain to fill the role, so they wanted me to do Skeletor. And at first, I was like hesitant. I was like, yeah, Skeletor is like, you know, kind of like that's old, man. It's dated. Like, how many people are gonna like it? And this is before Skeletor was memeing, you know, on Reddit and all those
Yeah.
and everything. So he wasn't really relevant at the time. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it just to see. And man, like the response right away was so hot. And then, like literally about a year later, that's when the memes started coming out, you know, and all about Skeletor, like I, you know, like about him, just all of his different catchphrases, and then
Yeah.
it just blew up. And now it's easily the most popular act when it comes out, because people just want to hear me do the promo. They just want to hear, yeah, like that's the biggest thing. I build the whole act around just nailing the promo. They don't care
Yeah.
about it as long as you play the character to the hilt. They do not care. That's the cool thing about the FSCW fans. They don't care what you can do in terms of wrestling. They don't care what you are in the indies. You can be the most popular indie guy in the world. They don't care. If you're going to play Green Arrow, you better have a bow and arrow. If you're going to be Cap, you better use the shield. If you're going to be like, you know, Sub-Zero, you better, you know, fake freeze someone, you know, things like that. Like that's really, they just want to have fun with it. So that's the coolest thing about the show.
Yeah, I definitely want to see one of those live back when conventions become a thing again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, speaking of Skeletor, on your pro wrestling T-shirt, you have an awesome T-shirt of you morphing into Skeletor.
Yeah. It was like my nice little nod to, you know, like half the people out there know me for Skeletor, half know me as Chamberlain. So it was a funny little, like, you know, funny little nod for it.
So, who are some of your favorite comic books heroes? Who do you like to read the most?
My favorite reads are Batman, Hulk, Punisher, and I like some Neil Gaiman. I do like Neil Gaiman works. Those are heavy reads, so like those are, you know, I'll read them like probably once a year because it's going to be, you know, it's a lot. Usually it's always in graphic novel form. They're about this thick. Anything by Alan Moore, I'll read anything by him. I love Alan Moore's work. You know. I'll read anything. X-Men. I catch up on X-Men. Doctor Strange actually is one I've been getting into.
Oh yeah.
Doctor Strange has actually been a lot of fun. I got the, you know, Comixology app, so I just read whatever I feel like reading. And I've been reading a lot of World of Warcraft. Actually, I'm a big World of Warcraft fan. Love the lore and the comics that go with that too.
Awesome. So you mentioned earlier how the coronavirus has really affected the state of the wrestling industry. Could you give us a brief overview of your thoughts on how the coronavirus has affected the wrestling industry, especially the independent scene?
I mean, essentially in the beginning, it basically gutted the independent scene. I mean, you just couldn't run anywhere. I think the last real show I did was actually FSCW. It was in Richmond. We did 3 days there. And that was like the last time I wrestled in front of like, you know, more than 2,000 people. I mean, I haven't seen a crowd like that since. And that was the last time I wrestled in front of a big crowd. I've done like student shows for Gangrel and like small tapings, and then obviously AEW, but AEW's even done in an empty arena. So
Yeah.
they have maybe 25 fans they were allowing in at the time. I think they're slowly starting to let in more socially distanced because they own the building. So it's nice that they can actually control the audience there, like where they sit. So, and they have a really good testing facility there, like for like when you walk through. So they test everyone going in and out. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely been, it's definitely been a rough year, you know, for an independent contractor for sure. But I've been lucky enough to be able to do some shows here and there and train at the school and stay in ring shape is what we call it. You know, that ability to have the cardio and still be able to move around and not get dizzy or, you know, worn out. Cause I mean, taking breaks in wrestling can be damaging because, you know, it's kind of like a callus, and if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So your body, you know, definitely falls apart if you don't wrestle all the time. So it was nice to be able to still take bumps and just at least stay in shape that way. But yeah, I mean, it sucks to not be able to wrestle in front of, I miss the crowds. I miss, you know, audiences. I miss the travel. Weirdly enough, I miss traveling. I miss being on a plane. I actually never thought I'd really miss that much, but you know, you kind of miss that life on the road. It's fun. So It's a cool opportunity. It's a cool job that not many people get to do. And I've always been super appreciative and humbled that I get to do that and I get paid to do it. Just, kind of looking forward to those days again, hopefully within the next 6 months,
Yeah,
so
hopefully.
start, getting things rolling.
Yeah, I definitely want to see you guys come down to Tampa with that superhero comic book wrestling show. What was it called again? Florida?
Fantasy Super Cosplay Wrestling, FSCW.
Awesome. Do they have a website?
They do. They have an Instagram and a website. I think it's all through GalaxyCon. So if you go to GalaxyCon, it has the whole GalaxyCon.com. They have the whole site for it.
I'll make sure to put that link in the description. Here's a little fantasy booking I like to do with people. If you could wrestle anyone in the world who's currently wrestling today who you've not wrestled before, who would you want to wrestle?
Who I've not wrestled before?
Yes.
Jericho.
Jericho,
first and foremost. And then, technically he's not active, but he could any given time, he's still wrestling in there. Triple H would be a big one. He's just one of those all-time great, and he's still somewhat at it. Also, I'm trying to think, man, it's a tough question, but Jericho definitely would be number one, who I know is active right now. Ambrose would be cool too. He's really good. I've seen him work for years and years from his days in like CZW and doing all the, wrestling on the East Coast growing up. Trying to think of other big names still active. Rey Mysterio would be fun.
Oh,
he'd be a lot of fun. That'd be awesome. I would love to get in the ring with him. I actually really like wrestling Lucha Libre with those guys. I love taking those bumps. I love taking the maneuvers. Those are a lot of fun to me. I love doing the flips. I love taking all the flips and the head scissors and all that. I like getting creative with it. So he would actually be another big one I'd love to get in there with.
Did you ever wrestle down in Mexico with the Lucha Libre style?
No, I haven't actually. Weirdly enough, I haven't. But I like I said, all my friends who are lucha I've worked with love working with me because I can base for everything. I can take everything. So actually, Mexico is like one of those places I would really love to work because I would love to work around with those guys that can move.
If they bring it back to AEW, it'd be great to see you go in the ring with guys like Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix and Pentagon would be.
Pentagon, yeah.
Yeah, Jack Evans too. Actually, Jack Evans would be a lot of fun. Angelico, like those dudes can move. They do some crazy things, man, on their feet. Don't know how they do it, but they're superb athletes.
What would you say of your career thus far is your most proudest achievement as a professional wrestler?
My most proudest achievement, I have two of them. One is the best of series with Gangrel in Vegas, and the other is my Ironman matches with Wes Briscoe. The ability to be able to go 40 minutes to an hour with a guy is just such a lost art, and it's not really done anymore in wrestling. And we really wanted to do that. And that was, for him, that was a huge personal, matter of pride for his family, since his dad and his uncle, who's like his heroes, are notorious for being able to go an hour. So he really wanted to do that to prove to himself and kind of honor that tradition. And for me, just, I'm such an old soul of wrestling. I really appreciate the old, the old standards, the old ways, and bringing them into the new fold, adapting new age with the old ways is a really cool thing to try to do. So to be able to say I can go an hour in a ring and keep an audience's attention was fantastic for me. That was a super emotional night. I remember like walking in the back afterwards and just being in tears because like we did it. We weren't even tired. Yeah. Like we were laughing halfway through. I remember literally laughing. I remember looking over at him and laughing like under my breath, and I was like, oh man, like this isn't bad at all. And he's like, yeah, I know, right? Or we're both kind of like laughing at the same time while we're trying to have a match, but it was really cool. It was very emotional afterwards. That was a big personal moment for me that I was very proud of.
Yeah, that was awesome. Your feud with him in Paragon Pro Wrestling, where he had just won the title and you stopped his dreams. You were such a heel.
Yeah. Oh man, we got so creative with the ways we would do, because like I made it a point in Paragon to never once win a match clean. Never won a match clean. And that was my goal. I never wanted to have a clean win. I always wanted to do something underhanded or blatant out cheating, or, ref didn't see it. That was just one of my creative goals there as my character was like, he's never going to win clean. He's always going to be thinking and scheming. I orchestrated my own kidnapping in a match.
I remember that.
And that match was great because they're like, all right, we're going to put you with Wes after a promo. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you any offense. He's like, what? I'm like, it's going to be 10 minutes and I'm not going to throw a single punch. I'm not going to land a single move on you. And the fans won't pick up on it. Watch. And it was just a challenge. We're like, okay, if you watch that match back, 10 minutes, I don't land a single thing. And the fans are going nuts. It's a
Mhm.
beating, but people don't pick up on it. That I'm like, I'm not landing anything, and then I get kidnapped, and then the next week I try to sue him, on TV because I try to file like a lawsuit and an injunction against him so he can't compete anymore because I blame him for the kid. I mean, it was just fun. It was so much
Yeah,
fun to do.
it was great.
It was a good time.
It was very Triple H Evolution like.
Yeah. I love that. I love the scheming heels, man. Like
Yeah,
that's a lost art too, man. The art of it being a true villain is lost. Every villain nowadays wants to be funny, and I
yeah,
like to be a heel that's not. Like, I don't want to be funny. Like, it's okay to be out over the top, but a real villain like isn't funny. If you make them laugh, it's you're entertaining and you're good at that point. I like being like a real scumbag. Like, that was the best part. It was never like a laugh and a wink on the side. It was always like, oh, I believe this. Like, I'm a real deal, trying to scheme. I'm a, basically like a CEO or a tycoon, just hook or by crook, I'm going to win.
all right. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Awesome.
I want to really thank you for coming on our show, being our inaugural first guest.
Oh, man, it's an honor, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and so I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. And like I said, they can find your merch at your Pro Wrestling Tees shop.
Yep. Yeah, the
And
link posted on my Instagram, my Facebook. It's the Alex Chamberlain on Instagram and Facebook. My link's there for Pro Wrestling Tees, and Chamberlain_MC for Twitter.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show again. And love to talk to you again soon.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it again.
All right, folks. That was the debut episode of Spandex and Suplexes interview series. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to once again thank our guest, Alex Chamberlain, for joining us. Hopefully we can get some more wrestlers to be on the show soon so we can keep this series going. In the meantime, you do me a couple of favors. You click the like button down below and also subscribe to see more videos from Florida Geek Scene in the future. Also, make sure you check out new issues of Spandex Suplexes the Wrestling Review every Saturday afternoon on FloridaGeekScene.com. So until next time, I'll see you at ringside.